All right, coming up here on the 1320 WILS Morning Wake-Up, Rich Earl here with you. In about 15 minutes from now, we'll be joined by Linda Vail, Ingham County Health Officer, to get the latest on COVID in the county. We'll also talk about this BA5 subvariant that's been making headlines recently, that's been leading to case surges across the country. So that's coming up here a little bit later on. Inflation. This week, the report came out for the month of June at 9.1% increase from the same month a year ago, even higher than the 8.8% that was expected. I mean, thought that was high enough. Well, it's at 9.1%. Let's get a take on this right now from Albert Eisenberg, a political consultant, commentator for the Young Voices, co-founder of the nonprofit media outlet Broad and Liberty, and he's on the other end of our line. Good morning, Albert. How are you?
Good morning, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So your reaction when you heard the June numbers come out this week, what did you think?
Well, there's two things. As a political strategist, I think, it's hard to find a worse headline for a flailing Biden administration. And as a human being, it really pains me to think that, the average working person in America, if they had $100 last June, that $100 is worth about $90 this June. And it's just hard to imagine how people are really getting by at this point, who already are dealing with difficult economy, government decisions that led to some ruination because of COVID, just huge amounts of spikes in costs of everything from groceries to gasoline, to healthcare, and it's just tough to think about. It really is.
Yeah, this marks the fastest pace of inflation since December of 1981. So we are talking about more than 40 years since the inflation has been this high in terms of monthly. Now, President Biden released a statement on the inflation report. He said that energy alone comprised nearly half of the monthly increase, and today's data does not reflect the full impact of nearly 30 days of decreases in gas prices that have reduced the price at the pump by about 40 cents since mid-June. Those savings are providing important breathing room for American families, and other commodities like wheat have fallen sharply since this report. That from President Biden in a statement he released in response to that report. Albert, what's your take on President Biden's perspective on that?
Well, I think it's insulting. The Biden White House insisted, after ignoring this, that it was transitory, when everybody from Larry Summers to any, conservative economist has been saying, do not spend so much money, do not print so much money from the Fed. You're going to cause a historic rise in inflation that we haven't seen since the Carter era. And here's what we have. And now Chuck Schumer is still pursuing the Build Back Better agenda to try and spend a few $1 trillion more in Congress. Just right now, there's negotiations right now. So the Biden administration and the Democrats are not taking this seriously at all. And if they want to take credit for a 30-cent, 40-cent decrease from historic highs of gas prices, they're going to have to take credit for the several dollar increase of gas prices from the time Biden took office. And I think most Americans are seeing that. The White House has no grasp of reality, has no grasp on the economy, has no grasp on, real foreign policy, competent governance and education and crime. And I think that's why you see the New York Times Siena poll showing that the people that are moving towards the Republican Party are non-white people without a college degree. These are people who are living in reality. And the people who are moving towards the Democratic Party are college-educated whites who are not feeling the effects of inflation and are going to be voting based on abortion and guns.
Now, you say the president is not taking this seriously, maybe not taking seriously enough. Now, why do you feel that is? Well, why hasn't he seemingly gotten a firm grasp on the situation? Any idea?
Well, I think the Democrats' left flank is very powerful and very loud, and they want to spend as much money as possible because they think they're going to be locked out of power for the next decade because of the U.S. Senate and the U.S. Supreme Court. has some, it'll be difficult for Democrats to control both of those. And I think what they wanted to do is take advantage of this situation and create, quote unquote, transformational economic change by spending up to $7 trillion of deficit spending. So the Biden White House is really steered by these people and his younger staffers. And while they don't like the inflation numbers, they don't really understand that they're the ones driving them. So that's why I say that they don't have a handle on it.
We're talking with Albert Eisenberg, political consultant, talking about the June inflation numbers. As I'm sure all the listeners have heard, you've heard it by now, 9.1%. It rose in the month of June from a year ago. Any idea on what the president or, even Congress for that matter can do to kind of fix the situation that we're in? Anything that can be done that has not been done or attempted yet?
Well, what really can be done that has not been done is deficit reduction and try to rein in the federal spending, because that is what is driving the increase in the number of dollars in the economy is decreasing the value of the dollar. That's just the basic economics of it. And when the Fed and the U.S. Congress is pushing out trillions of quote-unquote stimulus money into an already clearly overheated economy, it is making things worse. So the first thing that Biden can do and the Democrats can do is to say that Build Back Better is dead. There's going to be no more $1 trillion spending from Congress. And Republicans and Democrats need to come together and focus on what the short, medium, and long-term deficit reduction plan is. Because while we're at it, we're hitting $30 trillion in debt as a country, and we are going to see inflation that we're not going to be able to spend ourselves out of.
Yeah, very interesting. And Albert, before we let you go here, we just have about a minute left here. It just doesn't seem like there's much light at the end of the tunnel, even though gas prices are going down. Is there any reason for optimism or any reason to feel optimistic that things will get better?
Well, I think if Biden keeps hitting his head against a wall and seeing that his numbers are failing, they're going to have to try something different. And what's going to be different is bringing Republicans to the table on economic discussion, hopefully producing more domestic American energy, building pipelines and getting them approved quicker. I think there's some percentage chance that actually happens, and that will ease the prices of the main thing that's driving inflation, which is energy costs.
Albert Eisenberg, political consultant, commentator of Young Voices, co-founder of the nonprofit media outlet Broad and Liberty. Albert, real quick, with just a few seconds left, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Albidelphia, and thanks so much for having me, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you joining us here. Albert Eisenberg talking about the June inflation report, 9.1% up from a year ago, and that's also 1.3% increase in the 1 month period from May. To kind of break it down even further, fastest pace of inflation since December of 1981. This is More Compelling Talk Radio 1320 WILS.